Hey everybody, welcome to Activity 10.1. So go ahead, open up your book. If you have a paper copy of the book, you can do that. Well, even if you have the online version of the book, you still need to open up your online book to Activity 10.1. How light makes things happen. So what our learning target is for today is we're going to investigate energy transformations of light. And by the time we get done with this activity, I would expect that you're going to be able to explain why light is an energy source. So let's start talking about light energy a little bit. Let's talk about light versus dark. Imagine if you had two identical cars, one white, so the car was white, the interior was a lighter color, and one was black. And they're both left out in the sun. Which one do you think is going to get hotter? Explain. Now, most of you know the answer to this. Well, the black car is going to get hotter because black absorbs, the dark colors absorb more light energies than bright colors. And you may not have an experience with a car doing this, but a lot of times if we have like a dark sweater on or a dark shirt on and we're outside, we get a lot hotter than if we had a light colored shirt. So we have a lot of experience with this. Now, when we go back to that car, when the car gets hotter, what type of energy has increased? And it's one that we've studied so far this year. Now, if you're thinking thermal energy, yes, the thermal energy is sometimes really dramatic. And there's places where if you live in certain parts of this country, you don't want to get a dark colored car unless you have an air conditioner that's big enough and powerful enough to keep your car cool. And for example, if you lived in places like Arizona, especially southern Arizona, if you had a dark colored car, it's going to get extremely hot. And if your air conditioner is not able to keep up with the heat, you're not going to want to have that car down there. So when the cars get hot, what type of energy increase? You said thermal energy? Exactly. And that's why you would have to have an air conditioner that can keep up and cool down those molecules that are moving so that your car can be cooled down. So which car has more thermal energy, the dark car or the white car? Again, you know the answer to this. It's obviously the dark colored car, the black car, the one that's going to be a lot warmer because the thermal energy, those molecules are going to be moving a lot faster because they are warmer. And remember, temperature is just an average of the kinetic energy of the molecules in the substance. So why or where does the thermal energy come from? Well, in this case, if it was left out in like in a parking lot in the sun, well, the black car has more thermal energy because it absorbed the light energy, the energy from the sun. And this light energy is transformed into thermal energy in the car as it's released from the dark surface of the black car. So how is it that light makes a radiometer spin or heats up a car? So if you remember, the radiometer was what we had in the beginning of the year. You remember, it looks like a light bulb. And when we shined a flashlight on one side of it, it would spin. How is it that light makes a radiometer spin or heats up a car? Could light be considered a type of energy? And that's what we're going to focus on today. Light energy is transformed into other types of energies, such as kinetic energy and thermal energy. So light energy has to be a type of energy, so that way it can transform into other types of energy as well. So light energy can be thought of as both a type of energy, but it can also be a mechanism for transferring energy from one place to another, like sound energy and thermal energy. And think about that. Light energy from the sun travels, 93 million miles from the sun to the earth. So that light carries it to our planet. So light energy is a type of energy that is emitted by a light source. Just as sound energy is emitted by a guitar string or a sound source, could also be a speaker. When light is absorbed, its energy is transferred to the object absorbing it, where it appears as a different type of energy, and therefore light can make things start, or it can make things keep going, maybe even make things stop, especially if you run out of light energy or if it gets dark out. So we've been talking about energy all year, kinetic and gravitational and thermal and electrical. Well, light energy is another one of those types of energy. Now, light energy can be transformed into things such as kinetic energy, chemical energy, or even thermal energy, which you saw with the light-colored car and a dark-colored car scenario. So what I want you to do today, when you look at your book, it says, for each picture below, name the type of energy into which light energy is transformed. So you're going to go ahead and do this, and obviously if you're watching this video, you're doing this on your own. So when you look at a plant, light comes down, it strikes the plant. That plant converted that light energy into what type of energy? Now, it could be one type or it could be multiple types for some of these. I'm not going to tell you if it's just one or not. So go ahead and do it for the plant, for the camera, for the person who is sunbathing, for the solar cooker. So if you need to pause the video to do that, go ahead, and obviously you're going to need to. And restart the video when you get done. All right. So you had a chance to tell me what type of energy transformations are taking place. So let's talk about them. Well, the plant, if the light's coming down, that light energy through photosynthesis is going to be turned into chemical energy, into sugars to help the plant grow. How about the camera? Now, this is an older looking camera. This is back in the day, when I was younger. This is how we had cameras. Our phones didn't have cameras when we first got cell phones. It took a little while for us to get cell phones. So now a lot of people don't even carry cameras because they have their phones. So when we look at this one, it could also be one where there's maybe film in it. So not all cameras were not always digital. Sometimes they had some old-fashioned film in it, and then you had to develop the film. So for an analog camera, light energy can be transformed into chemical energy. And so that image would be transferred onto the film that you got developed. Now, if it's a digital camera, light energy is transformed into things like electrical energy. But also it could be light energy because you are going to, and what we're talking about here is light that goes into the camera lens, but the camera itself also produces light energy. But the light that goes into the lens, say right here in front, could also be in a form of electrical energy. And that's your digital pictures that the camera's taking. Suntan, well, it's going to be a chemical energy, and that's why you get darker as you get tan, because that light is being transformed into chemical energy. Well, if you're suntanning, you want the chemical energy. If you said thermal energy, I can see you making an argument for that because you're going to get warm when you're sunbathing like that. How about a solar cooker? If you said thermal energy again, you are correct. Now that thermal energy could then convert, into chemical energy if you're cooking things, if you're baking things. Potentially that could happen. So you can see that light energy can be transferred into different types of energy. Now we didn't have any kinetic energy here, but that would have been your radiometer. The light made the radiometer spin. So you can see that there's lots of different energy sources. When we go back, light energy can be converted into chemical or kinetic energy, chemical energy, thermal energy when it's absorbed. So let's take a look at that making sense question. Can light be considered a type of energy? Now, I'm not going to tell you this is a test question, but depending on what year you take the test, this very well could be a test question. So make sure you listen to the answer at the end. So can light be considered a type of energy? Absolutely. Light can be considered a type of energy because it can be transformed to and from other energy types. So in other words, you could have one type of energy convert into light energy, such as the electrical into a light bulb, or you can have light being transformed into other types of energy, such as the types that we saw in each of these transformations. All right. So as always, if you have questions, make sure you ask your teacher. Thanks.